I feel like we're living in a really rough time right now. And yes, every generation has had its hardships, of course. But I feel like right now, half the world is still living in this place of being indoctrinated. And the other half is realizing that being indoctrinated is not the path to true happiness in life. There's people who are scared of their own evolution, you could say. Afraid of change, right? We're all scared of change to some degree, going outside the comfort zone, going outside of our box. But there's this real fear around human beings evolving. And you could bring AI into this, but this is more from a just technology level. But what about true human spirit? About our connection to more, right? You have to understand that a lot of our attention is being hijacked right now. Your attention is you, is your life, is your reality, your perception, but what you place your attention on, right? And a lot of people are zombified, I guess you could say, right? They're on the phone, they're allowing their attention to be diverted in all different directions, and they're not self-aware. So self-awareness is one of the masterful pieces of the puzzle to evolution, self-evolution, okay? And some people maybe don't want to even try being self-aware or taking back their attention. They're comfortable just blindly following a script. So I'm going to talk about something that's really cool. One of the coolest things about, and I don't want to make this video like a Debbie Downer video about how all people suck and stuff like that. No, I want to go a little deeper than that. One of the coolest things about this life are coincidences, synchronicities, little glitches in the matrix, little things that remind us that we're connected, right? That when we are in this place of self-awareness, or our center, like observation point, where our attention isn't being hijacked and following along certain scripts without our own kind of conscious knowing. Cool things happen, like coincidence and synchronicity is very, very cool. And it's almost like we're in this video game, which we are, aren't we? In a video game, simulation, whatever you believe, right? It seems like it. Where we're trying to always decode messages and symbols. If you're self-aware, you'll notice that nature starts speaking to you. And I don't mean you're actually having a conversation with like that bird feather, but you look deeper beyond that and you start to see things in your environment as symbols or reflections of what's going on internally in your subconscious, okay? Giving you messages. And these messages aren't necessarily coming from a higher power or God or certain entities. They're coming from you. You're just more aware of them. That's self-awareness. That's starting to become a more evolved human being, in my eyes. And a lot of people don't tap into that. We all have the ability to, but we don't. So symbols and coincidences are a very, very cool thing. It makes life fun, more like an adventure than just constantly being led by some other script. In Dr. Bernard D. Bateman's book, Connecting with Coincidence, he states, when you are stirred up by a psychological conflict, look around at the patterns in your surroundings. Some of them may form a mirror of your mind and provide a useful perspective on your choices. Okay, so you can guide yourself through life. He also mentioned a study, this I thought was cool, done by psychologist Richard Wiseman about what makes people lucky in life. Right? We always think, oh, that person's lucky, that person's unlucky, they have a black cloud over their head. But he found through studying that lucky people have a couple qualities, okay? Perseverance, they're optimistic, they learn from their failures, they know that they're not always right and that things don't always have to be perfect, but they learn the lesson, whereas they don't attach to a failure and give up. They rely on their intuition over their rational mind. That's a good one, okay? So, you know, along with preparation, more coincidences can occur this way, okay? Because you're more self-aware, you're more in tune to your intuition, okay? You're more following what your heart says over what your mind says or what your attention. If you're not in your own attention, then you're giving your attention to something on the external, right? So it's going to be hard to speak with the universe or speak with nature. So I thought that was just something interesting. And, you know, we're definitely in a transformative time on an emotional level. There's a lot of anger. But I always like to think, picture every human being right now, adult, grown-ass human, as a baby. And what does that baby need? Okay, maybe that gives you a little more perspective on, and tames down some of the anger you have at somebody, because you have to realize that everybody is a reflection of their own inner whatever they got going on, right? And a lot of people are not self-aware, and that's going to leave them in a place where they don't evolve, where they are afraid of change, where they get stuck on failure, and maybe they give up in life. But chances are, if you're watching this video and you've gotten this far and any of this has made any sense to you, some people just click off, right? It's not going to resonate with everybody. But if you kind of grasp what I'm saying with my words, underneath the words, right, is that it's a very personal thing, right? Your life, your evolution in your life, what you've been through, your experiences, what you learn from those experiences, or whether they drag you back always into a pattern of your past. Whether you can take them and learn from them and grow from them, right? We always hear about New Agers, self-help, self-acceptance, right? Accept myself and all these things. And self-acceptance is not about giving up on yourself. It's not about not growing anymore, right? A lot of people, I like to call it like superficial self-acceptance, or a self-love movement that I've talked about before, where, you know, I accept myself, so I'm gonna allow myself to just like keep doing these unhealthy habits, or I completely accept myself, so I'm gonna just give up on, you know, finding a better way in my life, or progressing, and just sit here like a lump in my life. No. Acceptance, that's not what acceptance is. Acceptance is about loving who you are and wanting to evolve and wanting to grow and wanting to learn from failures in your life, not about just being a schlub and doing nothing anymore and giving up on everything. That's not what it's about. And I think sometimes the lines get blurred. So anyway, I don't want to make this too long, but let me know your thoughts. You know, I just wanted to put out just something today that reflects what I think, you know, people can learn right now in this period of time. There's a lot going on. And just remember that your attention is sacred to you. Okay? Don't let it be diverted in all different directions and be led by somebody else's script, or, you know, stand your ground, okay? Look with your eyes, but see with your spirit in a sort of way, okay? That's it for today. So hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos every single week for you. Really appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.